guys, it's Katura here. We're going to be talking about The Walking Dead book review today, chapters 1 through 10 from Rise of the Governor. And first I'd like to talk about the dynamic between the brothers Philip and Brian Blake. Brian is the older brother and Philip is the younger brother, but by about 3 years. And Philip has a daughter named Penny, and 5 years before the zombie outbreak, his wife passed away in a car accident due to a drunk driver, unfortunately. But luckily she was not here to see all this craziness that's going on in the world today in Georgia. While Brian Blake, he can't get his act together. He is basically the black sheep of the family, doesn't have a very good stable personal life. His wife went back to, I think, Barbados, or I think she went back to, her family's from New York, or her family lives in New York, but they don't speak much about Brian Blake's ex-wife. For I guess good reason. She doesn't really hold any importance to the story, which I can understand why she's not in the book at all, or she's just mentioned. And now I'd like to talk about what happens in the book between chapters 1 and 10. It gets pretty intense towards chapter 10, or just pretty intense altogether. But so getting back to the actual meat of why we are here. The story opens up in a gated community, I think like maybe 50 miles or so outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and the people are like holed up inside this house, and Brian Blake is keeping Penny safe in a closet, while Philip, Nick, and Bobby, they're outside the closet and inside the home, killing off the family of zombies that actually live there. And then later on, fast forward a few days, Brian Blake finds a picture of the family, and he notices that there's one person missing, and it's a teenage boy, or a pre-teenage boy, about the age of 11 or 12 or so. So after that, they stay there for a while, or maybe like 2 or 3 days. They, eat their food, or the family's food. They still have electricity, and which is pretty cool because it's probably like 2 or 3 weeks into the apocalypse by now. And I would think that the electricity and all signs of government would have already shut down by then. But anyway, getting back to the story at hand. So, one instance, last week I told you guys about the character that died, which is Bobby, and this right here. It was a really shocking part because I was not expecting this. I remembered it from the first time I read it 5 years ago, but I forgot how Bobby died, and this is how he dies. So he's after he gets finished killing a zombie, he's leaning on a doghouse when all of a sudden he hears some scratching on the inside, I think, and lo and behold, the 12-year-old boy is hiding in that doghouse, but the boy is not alive, he's dead. So he bites Bobby on the leg, or on the inside of the thigh, and so Bobby becomes a zombie, I guess, and Nick or Philip takes him out. I can't remember which one. It was a couple days ago when I last read that part, but Bobby gets taken out by one of his friends, either Philip or Nick. So the group deems the place not safe. The place is becoming overrun with zombies, so they have to load up a truck and move on out. Brian makes a sign that I can't remember what it says, but it says something to the effect that of no one alive, or something like that. No one alive, please move on. Something to that effect. But fast forward, and they seek shelter in a warehouse, and then a gas station, a mechanic shop, where Philip finds this nice new Cadillac. I think it's a 2011 Cadillac. The book was made in, I think, 2012. So they hop into this Cadillac, and then Philip does something really stupid and pulls a Glenn. If you guys remember from season 1 of The Walking Dead, Glenn found this really nice souped up car, and so he breaks into it, sets the alarm off, and inevitably attracts all the zombies to their camp. But anyway, Philip gets in this car, he pulls a Glenn, and he revs the engine, plays music loud, squashes zombies on the way while they're in Atlanta, or just outside of Atlanta now, because they've made it so far as to be outside, maybe 5 or 10 miles outside of Atlanta, where they're trying to reach the refugee camp. But what happens is, while Philip is in the driver's seat, running through the crowd of zombies, what happens to the tires, they lose traction because of all the blood and guts that's, getting in the tires or getting in the little grooves of the tire. So they end up spinning out and crashing into this hardware store. Basically, they have no vehicles and they are almost surrounded by the Walking Dead. Which leads me to their next destination, which is this apartment building where Philip, Brian, Nick, and Penny is still alive at this point in the story. And if you remember, Philip Blake's daughter, Penny, had died way before the governor had come into the story, because he had her on a leash, or I think she was on a leash in the TV series. But anyway, she was already dead by that point. But in the story that I'm telling, or the story that we are reviewing, Penny is still alive. But here's the interesting part about this story. At this point, after Philip Blake crashes the nice new 2011 Caddy into the side of a hardware store, injuring himself, Nick, Brian, and Penny, because Penny is still in shock at this point from everything that's gone down. She is still in shock. She is watching her father, his mental state decline. He's turning to someone that not even Brian or Nick knows anymore. This guy that just does not care about humanity, basically. Because if you're dead, and you can't kill someone that you're dead. You can't kill someone that's already dead. You're just putting them down. So, the interesting part of the story now is that we actually meet Tara and her family. So Tara in The Walking Dead TV show doesn't come until after the governor or Philip Blake or whoever he is, until after he's burned Woodbury down, after he's had the war with Rick and his group. But anyway, we're not talking about the TV show Walking Dead. We're talking about the book here. So so Philip Blake meets Tara, and then Tara introduces his group to her sister April, who in the show is called Lily, and their father David. I think his name is David. Yeah. And just so happens that they are a trio, a band trio. They were a band of 4, but their mother passed away, I think a few years prior, from, I think, lymphoma or lung cancer, something to that effect. It was a cancer that killed her, unfortunately. So, this is the part where I'm at now. I'm at chapter 11, and this is where it ended for me in the book. This is an intense moment, because I do remember a little bit about this storyline from when I first read it 5 years ago. I'm not sure if it ends well or not, but I do know that something bad does happen, beginning from chapter 11 on. I haven't read chapter 11. I ended at chapter 10, and that's where we are. We are where Philip Blake meets Tara, who was one of my favorite characters in the TV show. So the next question is, will Tara and April follow Philip like they did in the TV series? Who knows? Stay tuned. And by the way, in the book, April played, whose character is named Lily in the TV show, she does not have a daughter. And I think Penny still being alive in the book is a substitution, or the original version of who April or Lily's daughter was in the TV show. So, will they follow Philip in the group? Stay tuned. I do not know what's going to happen to David just yet, who was April and Tara's father. So yeah, stay tuned for that as well for next week when I review chapters 11 through 15. I can't wait to see where the story goes. I'm really excited. And just, I will see you guys next time. Love you guys. Namaste and peace out. Bye-bye.